There's a new title on PC that's currently in alpha, and it's called Spellbreak. And as soon as I saw this, I thought to myself, why not build a used price performance gaming PC and see what kind of value for money we could play this game on? And today that's exactly what we're gonna do. So let's quickly take a look at the minimum required specs, then we'll take a look at what we've got on the table, then we'll try and build something that can play this game. So the system requirements here are saying that you need an i5-4430 or an FX 6300, the first being a 4th gen 4-core Haswell CPU. Now on the desk we've got an i5-4460, so this is slightly better in the fact that it's clocked 200 megahertz higher than the i5-4430. If you're on the AMD side, you can use a 6-core FX 6300. Then for the graphics card, they're asking to have a GTX 960 or a R7 370. Now both these cards are mid-range cards back from those generations. The GTX 970 that we've got here today is amplitudes faster than the 960, despite it only having an extra 10 on the naming scheme. It's also stating that you need 8 gigabytes of DDR3 memory, which we've got, and 2 gigabytes of dedicated VRAM, which we've got 3.5. So on the table here, we've got a GTX 970, got a 500 gigabyte hard drive, 120 gigabyte SSD, 8 gigabytes of memory mismatched as well, a Lenovo H81 motherboard, and also inside that we've got that i5 as we mentioned before. We're going to be using the included cooler as well as getting this power supply here, the Cougar 500 watts. So this is a new part that I'm going to be using in this build, and I've also got to go pick up a new case from the local retailer, but they do these cases super cheap, and I'll show you soon. So with that said, we don't have to give a whole lot of parts here Tech Yes Loving, because we've already given that graphics card some Tech Yes Loving in a previous video where we took it the GTX 970 in 2019. I'll put that link up here if you want to check it out. But other than that, we really only have to give the RAM, motherboard, CPU cooler, the hard drive and SSD some cleansing. So let's quickly do that now and then start the build. Just got back now from the computer store and we picked up one of these for 35 Aussie dollars. So it's actually a really good price considering it's got a 12 centimeter LED fan, which is blue in this case, at the front of the case. So all we have to do to add a bit more bling is another $1 LED strip and we're good to go. So what are we waiting for? Let's put this thing together. So here's the build all complete here. We've got the blue LED at the front with the blue LED strip, and it was unintended, but it actually matches up with the WindForce GTX 970 G1, which has a blue WindForce LED logo. Now this whole build, it tallied up to around about 370 Aussie dollars, which is like 262 USD adjusted. So it came out a little bit more expensive because we had to use a new power supply and case because I couldn't find any deals on cases and power supplies on Gumtree. Well, I did find a case, but it just looks so bad to the point where it'll detract away from value from the build if we go to flip it. But with all that aside, let's start installing Windows, tune this thing up, and then run some Spellbreak and see how it performs. So the Spellbreak gaming PC looks like it's been breaking some spells with the fancy LED lights, but the performance was pretty impressive. 1080p high settings in window mode, we were getting over 80 average FPS, and I think the 1% and 0.1% lows were sort of going a little bit wild sometimes, and I guess again that's because the game's in alpha. When I first booted up this game, it did have a problem where it only allowed me to put 1080p in windowed mode, so full screen and borderless window sort of were having some problems. So it is indeed a alpha game still, but it is pretty fun. I mean, getting into it, sort of like it's got a little bit of a learning curve, but it is a battle royale type game. Instead, you've got spells, and you can start off with a basic thing, and you can get gauntlets and use special spells. I mean, for me, it was just personally just things were all over the map. I managed to get my character with some invisibility thing, and that was pretty cool, but somehow people still knew where I was and just sort of jammed me from behind. But speaking of jam, we did indeed jam a lot in this case, and the problem is it's only got that one fan at the front which has weak airflow, so it's pretty much a sarcophagus inside here, and the temperatures on the GPU were showing like 89 degrees max, and admittedly I did overclock the GPU and I was surprised it didn't crash out at these temperatures. But the easiest thing to do with a case like this is to just remove the side panel, and that will let the hot air vent out, and you should be getting much lower temperatures. But Spellbreak, it ran really smoothly, 1080p high settings. The game does look pretty promising. I'm not sure if it's free to play, but I got sent a key on Twitter from Skilled Rebuilds, so big thank you to Skilled Rebuilds for sending us that key. And also we played Apex Legends on this gaming PC right here, and it did pretty well. I mean, we're getting over 60 FPS on high settings, 1080p. The CPU and the GPU just had perfect synergy at these settings. Pretty much 100% on the GPU, 100% on the CPU, 4 cores there with the i5 4460. But now back to Spellbreak. In terms of the minimum specifications, they were pretty much right on the money, I guess, in terms of the CPU. This is about where you'd want your CPU to be in getting over 60 FPS and having a smooth experience. Because to my eyes, it was a pretty smooth experience, even though the 1% and 0.1% lows were sort of showing some occasional stuttering. It was still a good experience on this PC, but the GPU was still maxed pretty much 100% all the time. So that GTX 960 recommendation is probably a solid recommendation to get 1080p low and medium settings. GTX 970 again being a lot more powerful than the 960. So all that aside, we got a build here that came in pretty cheap, still has that new look and still uses a new power supply, but it is doing very well for the price tag, around 260 US dollars, 370 Aussie dollars. And I think in this case, the part where we extracted the most value out of this build was the motherboard, 8 gigabytes of RAM, the CPU cooler, and that combo for the hard drive all thrown in there. We got that for around 160 Aussie dollars, and it just screams value at this price point because this motherboard does work with the GTX 970, but on top of that, it also came with a Windows 10 Pro license pre-activated, so I didn't have to go out and buy a Windows 10 key on top of that, and really it all just came together to make run really smooth gaming PC. Honestly though, if using this every single day, I'd either be changing out the fans, which in this case high airflow fans do cost a bit of money and they will add to the cost of the build, or you just simply take the side panel off, and in that case it does look pretty clean. Even though we were still using ketchup and mustard cables, the build came out all right. But on that note, guys, let us know in the comment section below what you think of this gaming PC right here, and also let us know what you think of cheap cases. Do you utilize them, especially if they got LED fans like this? They do bling it up a little bit. They do create value, I think, when it comes to flipping the PC. But also on that note, let us know in the comment section below what you think of Spellbreak. Have you played the game yet? It seems a little bit exciting. It's definitely a little bit of a battle royale twist compared to the other battle royales out there, but me personally, man, I'm just getting battle royaled out at the moment. There's so many of these games coming out, I'm losing track. I sort of enjoy a bit of a single player game and a sort of different like RTS game, and I'm just really hanging for Age of Empires 4, but that's me personally. Maybe hopefully Microsoft will update that later this year. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. And also if you're enjoying the content and you want to see it the moment it drops, be sure to hit that sub button with that notification bell turned on. And if you want that inside scoop, head over to Instagram, TechYesCity, and I'll catch you guys in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.